Greetings to my respected elders, my brothers and my sisters, and to all those who are not yet believers. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praises to Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. I testify that there is none worthy of worship but Allah, and I testify that Muhammad is his messenger. We send blessings and peace upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all of his followers until the day of recompense. I see a lot of things today that are going on, and you brothers and sisters are well aware of this too. As marriage happens more and more often, we see marriage failing. So the more people are getting married, the more people are essentially failing in their marriage. This is a westernized majority problem, okay? Most of the time, the marriages that are happening in the Muslim countries, not saying that they are totally without problem, but generally speaking, whenever they marry, they tend to try to marry for life, mashallah. A lot of what we're facing in the West, man, it's a multifaceted front that's causing these types of issues. You got so many different areas that the home is being attacked, okay? We've talked about a lot of these before on the channel, but stick with me here. We'll cover a few of them, inshallah. You have one of the main issues that I see is the quote-unquote boss bae, girl boss mentality that the women of the West have adopted. And whether this is sisters or whether this is non-Muslims or whatever, it's usually the same MO all the way around. You have the girl boss mindset, and the girl boss mindset is, I don't need no man. So they already have the idea that they don't need a man, and then they enter into marriage with a man, and they think, what's the problem here? Why am I no longer the shot caller? Not understanding fully that men by their very nature are natural leaders. And a lot of times the reason this happens is because women have been put in a position to be single moms, and they've pretty much had to do this stuff on their own. And because they've had to do this stuff on their own, what happens a lot of the time is they already develop this fight or flight survival mode type of mindset and mentality to where they think that they have to depend on no one. Not fully understanding that when you enter into the bonds of marriage before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it's no longer I and me, it's now us and we. So you get a lot of conflict within the marriage and within the home because of that, where men come in as a natural born leader, protector, and provider, and they want to do what it is that God has ordained them to do for their family. And women tend to have a problem with that because, you know, I've been doing it this way for such and such time. I did it without you before, I can do it without you again. Everything is so disposable in nature, which is another problem we can touch base on in a different video, inshallah. But right now, I just want to cover some of the basics of our natural fitra, our natural nature, our nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Alright? The fitra of a man is to be the protector and the provider and the sustainer. That's why men are born with a certain level of natural born jealousy. Society has convinced them that it's a weak characteristic to have a natural protective jealousy. And this is not a weak characteristic, brothers and sisters. This is a manly trait. This is a manly characteristic. When it comes to wives and daughters and mothers and sisters, we're naturally more predisposed to be protective of them. Even to a stranger. If I go out into public and there's a woman in distress, a man has a natural inclination, a natural desire to try and protect her just by instinct alone, right? So that's natural born within us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order that societies would be able to thrive and flourish. That's why it's there. Without those protectors, without those providers, without those maintainers of women, women would be left to be exploited at all different turns, right? You want to think about it in that way. If all the men were to suddenly just say, you know what, I don't care. From now on, I don't care. You guys don't need a man. I don't care. From this point on, you can do what you want. No man is going to protect you. Men will no longer have jobs as firefighters, police officers, military, so on and so forth. And they just completely stop doing what men do. The world would reign in chaos. It would be total chaos. Men are kept in check by way of other men. Okay, Allah has ordained it that way. Allah has ordained it that way. Even you girls that go to the bar and you get hit on, and if you're Muslim, you better not be at the bar. But you non-believers who go out to the bar, and if a man starts to hit on you and you're not interested in him, what do? You always tell him, I'm married, or I've got a boyfriend, or so on and so forth, right? Because this, even though a man is not physically present with you, signals to that man who's trying to hit you up and holler at you. It signals to him that, hey, he may not be with me right now, but there is someone here who will put you in check. And most of the time this works. Most of the time, because the average men are not looking for conflict, and a man knows that if he has a conflict with another man, we try to avoid that most of the time if we can, because we understand the dangers and the ramifications that come from it. A man understands if he gets into it with another man, most likely somebody's going to get hurt, and there's possibly going to be jail time involved, legal fees, so on and so forth. It's going to be a very costly situation, whether it's in terms of finances or whether it's in terms of health. So a man will most of the time hear that from a woman and he'll back away, right? Just because he don't want the hassle. All right. So anyway, the point of that is that our natural fitrah from Allah is to be protectors and providers of women. Women's natural fitrah of Allah is to be submissive. I don't care what society has convinced you girls of. I don't care that it's convinced you that to be a girl boss is the only way. You got all these rappers and retards out here talking about how being a girl boss is the way, yada, 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 and they're married themselves. They're married themselves. Y'all are taking advice from somebody about something like that, about being a girl boss and doing what you want and blah, 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 and they're submitting to their husbands. Astaghfirullah for y'all. May Allah forgive you and protect you for buying into this nonsense. I mean, so a woman's natural disposition is to be submissive, but she wants to be submissive to a man, not to a boy. A boy will behave with different characteristic traits than a man. Just because you are a grown-up and you were born with a penis, it doesn't make you a man. Just because you have a job doesn't make you a man. Just because you pay bills doesn't make you a man. There are ways of behaving that the Rasulullah, the Messenger of God, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, he behaved in a certain way. He commanded his men, his believers, to behave in a certain way. And as such, we will receive a certain result from that type of behavior. If we give the behavior that we have been advised to give as men, then we will receive the fruit of that. We will receive the bounty of that. We will receive the booty of that. The pun intended. Alhamdulillah. But the point of it is that we have a guideline that we follow. It comes from the Quran and from the Sunnah. There's a lot of marriages out there right now within the Muslim world, and especially within the non-Muslim world, in Western nations for the Muslims, who are really suffering, and they're on the brink of divorce. They're on the brink of separation. You got wives who are unhappy. You got wives who are displeased with their husbands. You have husbands who feel like they're nothing more than paychecks and the bill payers, and that's it, and that's where the extent of their authority goes to. That as long as they're providing an income and they're doing their share, then that's all they're expected to do, right? And a lot of times you have other men who are being the workhorse and the work slave of their marriages, right? They're not only going to work and working 8, 10, 12 hours a day, but they're also taking care of the home life, taking care of the kids, trying to play shuttle bus back and forth to baseball practice, soccer practice. Soccer moms have been replaced by soccer dads, essentially. So you're having a lot of misplaced roles and a lot of misplaced responsibilities, and this is on both parties' fault. This is both parties' fault, or to blame for this, okay? Because you have men who are acting as boys, women who come from a background where they have to be the man and the woman as well, provide their own sustenance, so on and so forth. And because of this, there is a conflict within the home because the respective gender roles are not being followed, and Allah knows best. Now, with that being said, I'm going to cut this short and go ahead and finish up, inshallah. But with that being said, what I want everybody to understand is, number one, I have marriage coaching available, mashallah. I have Muslim man coaching available, mashallah. Just on restructuring yourself as a man in the Western country, especially dealing with the temptations, trials, and tribulations that we have as men in the West, okay? And how to save your marriage. If you want to save your marriage, there are formulas that you follow. Anyway, y'all know my email. It's trinitytruth07@gmail.com. Drop me a message if you need my coaching, if you need my help, brothers and sisters. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Share the content with anybody that you think may find it beneficial, inshallah. Brothers and sisters, consider joining the channel membership for the pleasure of Allah. Help with the content creation, so on and so forth. This is dawah that will be given to you on the day of resurrection as well. This will be a good deed for you forever, mashallah. So, with that being said, brothers and sisters, until next time, remember that there's one God and only one God, and He alone is worthy of worship.